I'm not sure that everyone is focusing on this bit of the National Assembly as the whole, because even while the comment was made at the time, this was part of what she said in a way to look at the how to reduce cost of governance. For the fact that some part of the media focused on that does not necessarily mean that the entire country is focusing on the National Assembly as a way of reducing our cost of governance. But be that as it may, she also drew our attention to a publication in The Economist which compared emoluments of lawmakers across the world, and it did come across as that Nigeria's lawmakers earn about $189,500 per annum, and that's 30.6 million, and that made them the highest paid lawmakers in the world. That will certainly get everyone's attention, wouldn't it?
I don't think that is correct. I also think that sometimes some stories come out in media, they're not verified, and they're not proper comparisons are not made. I remember that I read something on Fox News, their newsletter, and they were focusing on the American Congress, and they said, why would this congressman get $3.3 million every year? And I said, hey, wait a minute, $3.3 million? So how come people are telling us that, oh, that what they just earned is $189,000? And I said, okay, so let me go and check. And anybody can do that. If you go to congressional salaries and you go and Google it, the facts are there. It ranges from $2.something million to about $5 million, depending on the size of your constituency. But we don't focus on that. What we do is to turn around and find just that aspect that seems to prove a point that was supposed to be made. And let me say what I think is the main point. The main point is this: our people have still not gotten to agree whether there is need actually for a parliament. I think that the long years we have spent under the military that has brought us to this point, we still have to harken back at the point at which in the military you just had the executive that was combining both roles. So this particular role now of having a parliament, that having people to ask questions, that having people to represent people, still does not resonate very well with our people. And so when they see that, they say, oh, well, of what use are these people? And, you know, of course, they say that there is no use until when they run into trouble, and then you see them all marching to the National Assembly and saying, oh, we need you to do this or we need you to do that.
One thing that we definitely cannot miss in the protest that was carried out a couple of days ago is the anger, that was palpable from the protesters against members of the National Assembly. Some people will say it's taken this long for the National Assembly to clarify, is it the misconception that we will call it in terms of your salaries and allowances, and that has been left to fester for a long time. Every time this is brought up, chances are that, we're told to ask and you will get. But in terms of, perception, in terms of clearing the air, it would seem that members of the National Assembly or the National Assembly as a whole has left the perception to fester.
Yes, Mark, I agree with you that there was palpable anger. But that anger is fueled by misinformation. That's our point. The anger is fueled by misinformation. I think the misinformation started or was enhanced at the point at which the central bank governor, Sanusi, said that we were taking a very large part of the budget. And then it was further strengthened when, with all due respect, the former Minister of Education, Obieze Ekwesili, now said, oh, we're giving you them 1 trillion. Those were information that were not true, that were specifically designed to incite people. And we in the National Assembly, we ask ourselves the question, what do you respond to? At the point at which Sanusi made his statement, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the total overheads of the central bank was more than the total budget of the National Assembly. In fact, it was in the region of about 300 billion. So do we now come out and say, but you yourself, you're also having overheads of this nature? So these were the things that we looked at, and we felt that if you now need proper information, we can provide that. And I made that point very clear when I spoke with those youths that came to us. I said, anytime you need us to come and give information, I am ready to do so.
Or just leaving the information out there, I mean, for people to know. I would have thought that by now the National Assembly would have embarked on a campaign of sorts to actually counter what has been in the public space.
Yes, you're quite correct. Maybe we will have to do that. But then we ask ourselves also, at what point are you going to start? Because are we going to do our own campaign without having to bring in other arms of government? Do we just embark on a campaign that is just going to be the National Assembly does this or that? The National Assembly is not the full, is not the government. The government is there. And that's what we're saying. That if you need a debate, we do a debate that is holistic.
She suggested that if this National Assembly will organize this public hearing on the emoluments of National Assembly, she'll gladly attend, and I imagine a lot of other people will attend so that you could sort this out once and for all. How about that?
Well, I do not think that the National Assembly will have to single out itself and say we are doing a public hearing on our emolument. It doesn't make sense. And I've just said it. I said we, in total, both salaries, allowances, every other thing, the running of the National Assembly, every part of the National Assembly, there's a total budget of 150 billion, which is 3% of the national budget. So, assuming we now come to now and say, let's do, what would that achieve?
Senator, you know, you pinpointed...
We don't think I don't think that will head us to where we want to go. Where we want to go is, how do we make government far more efficient? How do we get value for our money? How do we make sure that people do not duplicate their jobs? How do we be certain that what we're doing is we're going in the right direction and in a way that Nigeria is far more efficient in husbanding her resources?